Today we're going to do swatches for 72 Staedtler double fiber tip pens. Now that's a mouthful. I'm Jenny from Jenny's Crayon Collection. I help you guys find the coolest art supplies for whatever project you're doing. And these pens are super interesting. There's swatches right here, but there's no names on them. And that's one of the things, if you have seen any of my other videos or looked at my blog, you will know that that's one of the things that kind of gets on my nerves. I was able to find like 60 colors for them, and I don't know if some of these will be neon, so if we can match them up with them, but we'll try to match them up the best possible and find the color names for these pens. An update to the color tournament this year. It's going super well. We have some awesome winners, Red and Scarlet tied, and we had to have a face-off on YouTube. So if anything ever ties, I'll bring it over to YouTube. But because YouTube's not exactly made to put pictures and polls, we won't do it over there. But maybe for the finales and stuff, I'll do that there. But we'll see. That's going to probably be like in April or May. But just follow along on Twitter and on Instagram, and you guys will be able to find it. And you can also vote on Facebook. I've had people vote on Facebook too, so I guess it's everywhere. I hope you guys are really excited to see these pens. Let's get this started. These are the 72 double-ended fiber tip pens from Staedtler. I know we did a vote on my YouTube, and you guys picked color with the Colors of the World markers and colored pencils, and because you guys loved that so much, I'm going to do that one next week, so stay tuned for that one. Today we're going to look at these fiber tip pens. This is a German company, so it's written in German first. It says double-ended fiber tip pens for colorful sketching, drawing, illustration, and writing. And it just has some examples. So you draw your base, you put in the details, and then you can put in more details. They are made in Germany, so this is a German brand. Faber-Castell has the same colors throughout their line, so if you get the watercolor pencils or if you get the regular colored pencils, it's the same color. I'm not sure if it's the same with Staedtler. I'm going to take them out. First off, the case is kind of flimsy, so if you were going to use these all the time, I mean, it'd be fine if you're just taking one out at a time, but if you're using a ton of them, it's not really easy to just take out, because they kind of fall all over like that. See how that goes? So what we're first going to do, like what we like to do, they're already kind of pre-sorted, is we're going to come in here and we are going to sort these in color, so that way we will get an accurate representation of, well, we'll just get them in color order. I like to look at things in color order, and I know many of you also do too. One's a little bit more green. Some of these, and I've read the reviews that the tips don't always match the color. So we'll see. So like I said, this is just kind of flimsy. They don't stay in there very well, but that's okay. We'll make do with what we have. I'm already seeing some that may look like they might be metallic, but I'm not sure. They have a little bit different tip, and the tip looks like it has some sparkle in it. The actual marker has some sparkle in it, but the tip on the ones that I think are metallic look like this. So I would guess that that would be a metallic one. So I'm going to make sure I get these ones ready before I take out the next ones. This looks gray. Oh, that's kind of green. It's like a dark green. So we'll put it here. This is very light. It's all, maybe put pinks and stuff up there. This one's silver. What we're going to do is we're going to leave a line for the colors. You can also, if you don't want to name them, you could also say this is like a red one, this is an orange, this is a brown number 2 or whatnot. So that way you can get your colors accurate. I think one of the best things about sorting supplies is just to be able to find them later and easier, and just to make life easier when you're actually trying to color. So we've got 2 color schemes going on. I wonder if, I don't know what their rationale for, actually it looks like I'm doing the opposite of what they had if I'm trying to get it in color order. And, you know, sometimes my color order is going to be a little bit different than your color order would be. Everyone sees color a tad different. This one looks purple. I'm going to put it in here. Got a blue, a green. That one looks more blue than that one. Another blue. I'm really excited to see these colors and see the tips. All right, we'll put these ones here. I should try to contact this company, and maybe I will do that after the video. I didn't even think of that until I was like set to film this morning. And I was like, oh, I could probably ask them, but who knows? Sometimes they give you things, sometimes they don't. That one looks really light. And we have our oranges in here that look yellowy. So I'm only doing this because I want to make sure when I put these down on the paper, that one's silver or copper. When I put these down on the paper, I want to make sure that I can see all of them in color order, because when I do a swatch chart, it's also nice to be able to see the colors as you're doing them. It's definitely pinker. This one looks a little bluer. All right, we're almost ready to go. Then I will just push these up. This one looks redder. Like I've said before, if it was circular, it would look a lot better. That one's more orangey. Okay. They are falling off, so I'm just going to push these up here for now. Okay. And then get them in order. Like that one's a light color, so it'd be more inside the circle, and the saturated colors are going to be more outside the circle. I mean, it's hard because I could try to do swatch charts like that, like the circular ones. It'd be interesting. I've never tried that. Okay, so they start with yellow. I always like to start with like the purples and stuff. So this is a blank swatch chart. I will leave a link below if you just want to sign up and just to get a blank swatch chart. This could be used for anything. This is a 72 one. I should make just blank swatch charts right in the future. So they have two sides. We're going to open both of them up. We see this one is more like a marker tip, and this one's like a fine tip right here. So something interesting happened while I was filming this. I was using this microphone that I hadn't used before, and it cut out on all the interesting parts. So I'm going to be doing a voiceover, so it's good for you because I'm going to be going through this really fast. If not, it was going to be a lot longer. I know you guys sometimes like watching those longer ones, but hopefully you like this one too. So we are going to look at this real fast. I am doing this by color families, and I am doing on the bottom, I'm doing it solid color with the bigger tip, and then I'm cross hatching with the smaller tip. And you know, at first I tried to make it all nice and neat on the bottom, and then I decided, hey, this is a swatch chart, just do it as, you know, fun and sloppy. Not really that sloppy, but just, you know, kind of, because we'd be here all day if I was making it perfect. So we just want to make sure that we get that color in. And since with markers we don't have like light and dark, we just do it all one color. And that's why I did the cross hatching too, so we could kind of see what the lighter colors would look like, because you would use those more as like cross hatching and just lines than you would for filling things in. And as you see, as I go through this, I am doing color families, and the first one that I'm doing right here was violet, and then I did red violet as a combination. If you don't have the actual color names, this is great to do. And then you could also go back and sort these by this. And if I was going to do this again, I would put on one side the more violet ones, and then on the other side the more red violet ones. Like RV1 is definitely more violet, is definitely more red than RV2. So I would switch those up a little bit. And so what you could do is you could swatch these all first And then you could say, I think this one is number 1. I think this one's number 2. I think this one's number 3. It would take a little bit more time, and you would want to make sure sometimes when you do that, you can think that a color that you're going to pick up is the same as the other color that you picked up, but it could be the different color because the caps do not match. So now we're getting into the red. So instead of like a pink, I just said R1 for this one. So you can see how this one kind of has that a little bit of orange tint to it. It has like a red tint to it. That's why I put it in as R1. It would be red with a lot of white, which is what pink is. So now we have our next one. This definitely is reddish in hue. It's a little bit lighter and less saturated than another red would be. So it is going to be R2. It might be a little bit lighter. Let's see what color I think it is. To me, I don't see it on this other chart, this other 62 or 68 chart that I have, but the 68 chart might not have, it won't have all the 72 colors, and it might have different colors than is in the other one. And so now we have this RV6, which is definitely more violet, but it's on that red scale. So I would have put it before R1 and R2, and I could go back and do this and do this swatch chart again, just so I can have them in the right spots. Because once I have this chart, I have it, and then I could put them in the right spot. I could also try to take off with that Sharpie. Sometimes if you use your nail, you can take it off. And I could put them in order. So RV6 would probably stay as RV6, but RV2 would become RV1. So now we're getting into the red. This is probably our true red or close to it. There's a scarlet red and a carmine red. So I don't know. And then there's antique pink, which I don't think we have in here. So I'm not going to match up the chart that I got because I just don't know if the same colors are in here, and I don't want to guess and have it be wrong. I would rather just like have right here, so next time I will know what colors are which. And you can see, I saw some reviews about these pens have splotches when you open them, especially when I open the thin tip side. I would sometimes get splotches on the paper. So if you're coloring with these, I would make sure to open them off of the page so that way you don't get those splotches on there. Or if you're drawing or if you're using a journal, make sure you're opening them away from what you're coloring on, because you don't want to get those splotches on your whatever you're coloring. So R7 is definitely, if you look at R6 and R7 is pink, and that's pink with white, red with white. That's what pink is. And we're going to go on. We have R01. So I decided to have the red oranges be ROs. And then this next one, it's very similar to R7, but it definitely has that orange tint. It's also very close to R1 and R02. And then this next one we see is more of a brown color. And I decided to name browns by Earth, as in earth. And this next one just looks like a lighter version, like more white of E1. That's why I named this one E2 to go on with that. But if we look at some of these colors, R2 and R4 look similar. R1 and R7 R1 and R02 look similar. So we could also put those together. I'm sure once you got them side by side, they probably wouldn't be as close as they look from far apart, but they definitely are. And if you're buying something like this, you want to make sure you're getting your money's worth, that you're not just getting duplicate colors of like 12 colors, because who wants to pay more for 72 colors when you could pay the same and get 12 colors? But these definitely are vibrant. They have lots of different colors that come in here, and they're all pretty much unique. So I'm getting into the oranges here. 01 is definitely the orange. It has that little orange reddish to it. And then 02, you're starting to get into the yellow. I don't know if that one's supposed to be the neon. And then 03 is getting to be a little bit more yellow in between kind of 01 and 02. So I decided to name these ones OG1 because it had orange plus a little green, but they're not brown. And OG2 just looks like a lighter version of that color, maybe with a little bit more gray. So this next one that we're going to do, to me, it kind of looks green now that I look at it, but I decided to label it just Orange 5. But if I probably went back, I don't know, it does have that yellow in it. So I think, and O can also stand for ochre. So it could be like 3 colors together. It has a little bit of orange, it has a little bit of yellow, and it has a little bit of green. And now we're on to the yellows, and Y1 is the yellow, and Y2 is just a little bit lighter yellow. This is probably our light yellow. You can see that Y1 is just a tad bit more orange than this one, or a little bit more saturated. Now we're getting, I think this one's another earth one, and it looks like OG2. It's a little bit more yellow. It is definitely different, but it is kind of in the same color family as that one. So I would definitely put those ones together. Like if you were doing a drawing or something, those would all look pretty well together. They all complement each other. Now this one is definitely looking neon. This was probably the only one that looked neon to me. So I could say without a doubt that one's neon. And this YG1, I'm not exactly sure which one this would be. Kind of looks green. So like a yellow green or something like that. I think that's what that one would be. It actually dried a lot lighter. So there it looks green, but when it dried, it looked a lot more yellow, which is very, very interesting because these markers, they went on really dark and then some of them just lined up. And that happens a lot with markers. So even when you're coloring, you kind of look and see what do I think this will look like later? Or you can do some swatches. This is why a swatch chart is super nice, is because then you can know what it's going to look like. And as you're putting it down, you know that it's going to change a little bit. And I even like when I have a swatch chart to go and pick out the colors that I want to color with, and then do another swatch test with them to make sure they're the colors you want. And now we're getting into the greens. We have G1 and G2. G2 looks yellowish to me, but maybe with white, I don't know, green is yellow plus blue, so it will look like that. Why this one is, I said yellow green 4. It's definitely super dark. I don't know, with all of these, my numbering system, I was like, is this one green, is this one yellow? And it was really hard too, because like I said, they dried a little bit different color than when they went on the paper. So when I looked at it, when they went on the paper, they looked at it a little bit different. So YG4 and YG3 look really similar to me. And now we have G3 that definitely looks green, G1 and G3. G1 just looks like the lighter version of that one. And then we're starting to get into the green blues here. And we can definitely see that this has a bluish hue to it. This one definitely had a bluish hue to it that I didn't see in the other ones. And so I put this one as green blue 1, but also green is somewhat blue. This one right here looks very blue to me. It looks like kind of a turquoisey color. It probably would be turquoise, I would imagine. So that one's green blue too. This next one is very dark. I imagine it has some black in it. So this one I put as green 5. It'd be probably like a forest or an opal green. I think that's what they have on their chart. This next one looks really bluish green, just a little bit lighter, of GB2. So on this one I put that it was a combination of those two. And then this next one, it looks green to me, but now that I'm looking at it, I don't know, it probably just is a lighter version of green. So you see G1 and G6. G1 and G2 are definitely on the yellowish scale. G6 is definitely like on the bluish scale. It's like, where do you draw that line? And it's sometimes a little bit tricky to know. You're like, should I put it here or should I put it there? It just really depends. And I think what would be really interesting is to put like a map of a color wheel and put where all these are, and then you could put where all the other supplies that you have are, so you could kind of see if you have the broad spectrum of a color wheel and what colors are really close together. I've never tried using different colors supplies with one another, but it'd be interesting to see how those would react, because they can all be slightly different. So this one is a very, very light, it looks like, almost looks like G6, the GB5, but Well, so now we're getting into the blues. This one is definitely bluish in color. I think this one or the next one, which I labeled B2, would either be the blues. So we have on their chart, they have neon blue and they have blue. I guess B2 would be neon blue. I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't know if the neons are in here. You could go get a pack of neons and see if they are. I know that neon yellow is definitely in here. B4, which is this next one, definitely is called azure, I think. And azure is another name, I think, for sky blue. I think azure in, I don't know in German, but I know in Spanish, I think that means sky. And then we have the next one, and it's very, very similar. It's not that much different. So I think, I don't know what I would call that one if I was going to make up a name for it, but that one is definitely very similar. Now B6, you're starting to get a little bit darker, so you might have a little bit of black coming into your colors right here. It looks a lot different. And then B7, it probably could have been a little bit on the greenish side, I think. So you have, when you have these colors, you have green, blue on one side, and then you have like blue, green on the other, and it could be on one side of that scale. Now this one I put as BV1 because it looked violet to me. This next one looks also violet, but once it dried, it actually looked a little bit more blue, but it does look blue-violet to me. When you compare it to B1, it definitely has that violet hue. And on this one, I decided, and you could do this, to do VB1 because it was more on the violet scale. So with my other ones where I thought it was more red or more violet, I could change the V and the R around just to kind of signify in my head that this one is a little bit more violet, this one is a little bit more blue. So this next one, BB3, I think it's very close to BV2. And then now we're getting into our violets. And now that this one has dried, BB2 looks very similar to V2. And V2 also looks a lot like V1. They're all very, very close. It'd be interesting to put all these three together and see where it's at. So now we're getting into probably the real violet. And I labeled this one V3. You can really see that red and you can really see the blue coming together right there. This next one probably should have been by B6. It is definitely bluish and greenish in nature, but like I said, the tips don't always show what's happening in these markers or pens. I mean, one side's a marker, one side's a pen. I would actually say these are markers. They're labeled as pens, but I would say they are markers. And so I decided to call black shadow because this one is not like a true black, and I love the word shadow. So all of my grays, I did shadow. So this one's going to be S2. And then the next one is going to be, it's a little bit green. So I said SG1, which is also the name of a show. Do you guys know what show that is? And so anyway, but I think it has a little bit greenish hue in it. So then we go on and we have, this one is in between S1 and S2, so S3. But like I said, if I was going to relabel these, I would probably put S1 and then I would put S3 and then S2, and then I would change the numbers around. And this one looks a little bit darker than SG1, so I'm going to label it SG2. And then now we're getting into the earth tones, into the brown tones. And you could even go as far as saying, if you wanted to, labeling like the yellow versions and the violet versions and the more oranges. That would give it a more descriptive name to the brown. So when you're looking for something, you could be like, oh, E4 looks a little bit, actually that one just looks like, it actually looks like S1, so it looks like it has a little back, but E5 looks like it has a little orange and greenish in it. Or maybe it's just better to leave them as earth tones. I don't know. You could go either way, and that's where like having your own naming system is great, because you can really pick what you want them to represent. And I really like how this chart has turned out. This would be super useful if I was trying to color, and there's a broad range and they all look really well together. So whatever colors you pick out together will probably look good on the page together, because you don't want to have a whole bunch of like saturated and then not saturated and them to be like not coordinating with each other. And look at the back here. You can see that there's not a lot of bleed through, so this would be ideal for planners and journals. I'm going to probably try it on mine. I'm really excited, and I'm probably pointing at these things and saying some really interesting things, but you can't hear me because my microphone wasn't working. But I really like how this turned out. And you can see how at the end I got a little bit more sloppy with my cross hatches, but I also kind of like them a little bit because they have a little bit more character than the ones above. The other ones, it looked like I was trying to be too neat. I hope you guys liked this video, and make sure that you check out some of my other videos. If you liked it, hit that subscribe button and that like button, and let me know what your favorite color is. Do you like how I labeled them in color families? How would you change it? I know that there's a lot of different ways to put color families in, so let me know if you liked it below, and I can't wait to see you guys in my next video.